All right, just a quick go over of the do now. Number 1 says if sine of x equals square root 3 over 2, list 2 angles in radian that could be x. I'm going to paste in here our unit circle, handy dandy. I'm just going to drag them on top of there for a second. Okay, so if sine of x equals square root 3 over 2, so that means my y value is square root 3 over 2. That happens here and here. And it's positive, so that means those are the only two that I have so far on my unit circle. So it's going to be pi over 3 or 2 pi over 3. Technically, you could also say anything that was an additional 2 pi more. So for example, if I were to say 7 pi over 3, that would also work because 7 pi over 3 would be 2 pi more than pi over 3, right? So pi over 3 plus 6 pi over 3. You could also say 8 pi over 3, because that would be 2 pi more, or 360 degrees more than that original 2 pi over 3. So remember, anything that plus or minus 2 pi works. Solve 2 times square root of x minus 3 equals 12. So divide by 2 first. We get square root of x minus 3 equals 6. We're squaring both of those sides to get rid of that square root. So we should have x minus 3 equals 36. And then we just add 3 to both sides, and we get our solution is x equals 39. Graph each function below. Oh, let's get rid of our unit circle so we can see what I'm doing here. We are supposed to be graphing negative x squared plus 4x minus 7, and then 2 times the square root of x minus 1. Let's get this done. Very first one, I'm going to make myself a table, and my output is going to be negative x squared plus 4 times my x value minus 7. So here's my y. Let's plug in, let's do a 0 first. So if I plug in a 0, I know my output will be negative 7. So let's get that graphed. If I plug in a 1, I get negative 1 squared plus 4 times 1 minus 7. So that's negative 1 plus 4 minus 7, which gives me negative 8 plus 4, negative 4. Let's keep on going here. Let's try a 2. If I plug in a 2, we should get, oh, there we go, negative 4. We get negative 2 squared plus 4 times 2 minus 7. So right here, again, negative 4 plus 8 minus 7. When I plug in that 2, I get negative 3. Let's plug in a 3. So just remembering basics of plugging in values. And when you plug in a 3, I'm just going to do some mental math here. Negative 9 plus 12 minus 7. That should get us back to that negative 4. So we should see we have that vertex. It's negative, so that means it's opening downwards, something like that. Next guy, square root. We have 2 times the square root of x minus 1. Same thing, we can plug in values. I'm going to say my x's. And we're going to make informed x or input decisions because this is a square root graph, so I really only want to plug in things that make sense here. So let's plug in a 0 first. 2 times the square root of 0 is 0. 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Whoops, 0, negative 1. My next point, I'm going to plug in something that I can easily take the square root of. So 0, negative 1. So let's not plug in, let's plug in 1. I can take the square root of that easily. 2 times the square root of 1 minus 1. It's going to give me positive 1. Let's skip all the way to 4. 2 times the square root of 4 minus 1, or 2 times 2 is 4 minus 1 is 3. And remember, once you get about 3 points, we are good to go. Checking to make sure this makes sense. It's my normal square root function. shifted down 1, and then having a vertical stretch of 2, which checks out with what I have.